Mario Kart World!
Mario Kart World might be a serious contender for the most interesting game Nintendo has released in recent memory. I'm referring to both the game concept itself, open world Mario Kart, who would have thought of that? I certainly didn't. But also the discourse surrounding the game from its initial reveal to release. Right from the get-go, when we got a glimpse of the brand new Mario Kart game in the Nintendo Switch 2 reveal trailer, something felt different about it. The whole thing gave off some serious Route 66 energy. There was an air of openness to some of the areas shown. 24 racers could now participate, places off the track looked explorable, and mysterious items could be spotted at Yoshi's Diner. Everyone immediately started to speculate if this would be a truly open-world Mario Kart game. And then a few months later, we got the full reveal. This was Mario Kart World, the true successor to Mario Kart 8 in its deluxe port. A game where all racetracks are interconnected in one large world map. A game where you can race on and between the tracks, and also explore the world and its secrets at your leisure. A game with a cast of quirky characters, new and familiar. A game where Mario can eat a burger, for crying out loud. Excitement couldn't be higher for most people as we embraced this new era of Mario Kart and contemplated what goodies awaited us in this new world. But then, the blue shell, or bombshell, was dropped. Man, the new Mario Kart game looks really cool. I wonder how much it costs. $80? Nintendo, what the fuck? Yeah, that really knocked the wind out of a lot of people's sails when it came to hype for this game, and the Switch 2 in general. Let me tell you, these past few months have been a really hard time to be a Nintendo game enjoyer. I hesitate to call myself a Nintendo fan, since that term has taken on a pretty negative connotation lately, being synonymous for some with Nintendo bootlicker. The fact of the matter is, I don't agree with all of Nintendo's decisions with their games and their business, but I still enjoy many of their games. For many people like me, it was hard to even show excitement for the game without being accosted by randos on the internet who would write you entire essays on why you're the scum of the earth for wanting to buy this product from Nintendo. As you can probably tell, I'm pretty burnt out from all the negativity and controversy surrounding this game and its price. If you can even call it much of a controversy, it's really a non-issue when compared to some of the things going on in our real non-Mario Kart world today. So my object with this review isn't to convince you that this game is worth $80. At the end of the day, it's people's own personal decision on how they wish to spend their money, but if you must know, I purchased the game bundled with the system, so I essentially got it for $50. And as you can likely tell from the review's title, I'm pretty happy with what I got for that value. But that isn't the point. Rather, my goal is to explain why this game resonates with me on a level that I haven't really experienced with a Mario Kart game before, and to offer counterpoints to many criticisms I've seen regarding this game and its open world mechanic. With that said, my opinions are just that, my own. You're entitled to yours as well. But I will say that if you feel strongly negatively about this game, I'd recommend watching a different video lest I upset you, since this is a mostly positive review. So without further introductions, let's take a spin through the open roads of Mario Kart World, and look under the hood to see what makes this game something special. Mario Kart has always been a series with a widespread appeal to many audiences. I know this firsthand because I have friends and family who rarely pick up a video game controller, but love Mario Kart, and for good reason too. The model with most Mario Kart games is that they're easy to learn but difficult to master. That's why casual and competitive audiences alike love it so much. And Mario Kart World continues that trend by fine-tuning the core experience and adding a brand new host of moves to use at your disposal. In addition to classic drifting and trick jumps, you can now grind on railings, barriers, power lines, and anything else thin enough, and perform little tricks on those rails to gain boosts and avoid the chaos on the road. Also new is the ability to jump onto a wall, often from a trick ramp or rail, and start riding on it. There's also a charge jump which can be activated by holding the drift button while driving straight, resulting in a short hop upon release. All these new moves can be chained together, for instance using a charge jump to reach a railing, then tricking off that railing to start riding the wall, gaining the lead in the process. Knowing these tricks not only makes you better at the game, they feel satisfying to pull off as well. They are surprisingly intuitive too once you know the controls. Wall riding was really the only tricky one for me to learn. The environments themselves also have features that allow you further options for traversal. Instead of driving underwater like in Mario Kart 7 and 8, your kart now transforms into a jet ski and allows you to drive on the water's surface. You can even perform tricks off of the crests of waves. Glide ramps also return, this time turning your vehicle into a plane which can change its altitude and perform barrel roll tricks. These glide ramps can even be found on certain truck beds on the open road, which are really satisfying to use to fly over the chaos of the race and land comfortably in a high placement. Of course, all of these tricks and mechanics would be useless if the places you race aren't interesting or fun. Thankfully, individual track design is as impeccable as ever. Mario Kart World features 16 brand new tracks and 14 returning tracks. Whereas many tracks in Mario Kart 8 were designed around that game's anti-gravity mechanic, World's tracks are designed with areas to use your new moves, but are also designed to be fun without using them, ensuring that less skilled players don't feel alienated from the enjoyment. A shining example of this is the track DK Spaceport, one of my favorites in the game, which features many paths to take, obstacles to dodge, and tight turns to make. It acts as a training ground of sorts where players can practice their new moves. The game's returning tracks have been revamped and redesigned as well to implement the new mechanics, sometimes drastically changing them to the point that they feel like completely different experiences from their original iterations. This is reflected in changes in theming as well, such as Choco Mountain becoming a Charging Chuck monster truck stadium, and Dino Dino Jungle becoming a wrecked laboratory with escaped dinosaurs freely grazing around, Jurassic Park style. And of course the visuals are stunning, rich with detail, and oozing with charm at every corner. And I won't spoil all the fun, but this game's Rainbow Road is an unforgettable experience that you need to try for yourself, thanks in no small part to the spectacular visuals. As the first brand new Nintendo title playable in 4K on original hardware, the game certainly doesn't hold back in the visual department. In addition to fun tracks to race on, items are as chaotic as ever, adding even more to the frantic fun of racing. Of course, most of the classic items like mushrooms, bullet bills, and the dreaded blue shell make an appearance, as well as newer and returning items. The Mega Mushroom from Mario Kart Wii returns as a formidable recovery item, and hammers and ice flowers appear for more projectile variety. Brand new items, the coin shell and the question mark block, help to increase your coin count, and Kamek causes all kinds of obstacles to appear on the track and can even temporarily transform characters into different ones. This may just be the most chaotic cast of items in a Mario Kart game to date, along with the wackiest cast of characters to boot. I mean seriously, Cow from Moo Moo Meadows, Sidestepper, Cataquack, Fishbone. Who is coming up with these characters? I don't care, just keep letting them cook. Now that I've covered overall racing mechanics and the places you'll see on your journey, let's talk about a more controversial area of the game, Grand Prix, which has been significantly changed from its previous iterations to fit Mario Kart World's mold. Grand Prix sees you selecting one of 8 cups, each with 4 races. The first race will feature a traditional Mario Kart race around the track, usually 3 laps long. However, the next race has you drive from the previous track to the next one. The highways in between the world's courses have been dubbed intermissions, and have become a major sticking point for many. This is largely because they take up the majority of the race's duration, usually having 2 to 3 sections before the next course is reached, which typically only has 1 lap. There are exceptions to this rule, such as section courses like DK Spaceport, in which you will still race the entire track once. I can understand why this might be upsetting for many people, especially since we've been playing Mario Kart Grand Prix the traditional way for over 30 years. But I can also appreciate that Nintendo wanted to try something new with this classic game mode. The developers themselves said that they felt they had nearly perfected the traditional racing formula in Mario Kart 8. So when they decided to present the next game in an interconnected world format, they realized how they might change Grand Prix to reflect these themes of openness and connection. But the main question is, how well do these intermissions play out? Are they truly as straight and boring as many have said? From my perspective, most of the intermissions are interesting enough to justify their existence. There may be a few duds here and there, but even though a lot of the highways are mostly straight, there's enough going on in them where I really don't notice most of the time. These track portions are typically wider in order to accommodate all 24 racers, which gives more room for items to chaotically bounce around in and gives you a fighting chance at dodging them. I love using power lines and barriers as grind rails to gain the lead and stay clear of stray shells and bananas. It's also really fun to use mushrooms to cut corners on the highway's turns to pass multiple opponents at a time. The roads themselves also feature traffic you'll need to dodge, essentially turning each course into a Toad's Turnpike or Moonview Highway style track. There are cars that throw out items onto the track like mushrooms and bombs, Yoshi's trucks that give you dash food for a quick boost, and the aforementioned truck beds with glide ramps as well as boost panels. One of my favorite intermissions is the Ocean Bridge to Crown City. It's mostly a straight line, but there are so many different routes to take, so many cars to dodge, and ramps and boosts to use at your discretion that it doesn't feel like a boring straight line at all. Still not convinced that these changes to Grand Prix are a welcome addition? One of the recurring themes I've seen come up in Mario Kart World time and time again is the focus on vibes, how the game feels to play. The idea of the game is for it to feel like an adventure out on the open road. In other words, a road trip. Each Grand Prix Cup now feels like its own little road trip, helped by the fact that the tracks in a cup take place in close proximity to each other on the map. As you play the intermissions, you'll notice the scenery change as you approach the next destination, similarly to an actual road trip. The vibes are also helped by the game's phenomenal soundtrack, which features remixed songs from not just past Mario Kart titles, but the Super Mario franchise as a whole, in a variety of musical styles. A selection of songs can play during each intermission that are suited to its theming. When the athletic theme from Super Mario Bros. 3 started playing on my very first intermission race in the Mushroom Cup, I knew I was in for a treat. And the good news is, if you still aren't a fan of the intermissions, you can still play tracks the traditional way in the Versus Race mode. You could even play classic Grand Prix the way the good Lord intended by setting it to 4 races, then just selecting the singular track variant of each track in the cup that you want. It certainly isn't a perfect or elegant solution, and of course it would be nice to just have an option to play the traditional way in Grand Prix mode. But if you are a fan of these new changes, there's almost endless possibilities to the combinations of races you can do in Versus mode. You can essentially craft your own cups, creating your own road trip experience. It just takes a little imagination. Another option that would be nice to have, which I'm a bit disappointed didn't make it in, is the ability to combine intermissions with 3-lap races. In my opinion, this would have been the best of both worlds, and I'm not sure why Nintendo wouldn't give us this option, beyond the tracks becoming longer. But overall, though Grand Prix may be divisive, I found the game's cups to be quite enjoyable to race through, and try for the coveted 3-star gold trophies. Racing isn't limited to just the Grand Prix and Versus Race modes. There's a new mode in town as well, Knockout Tour. Now here's something that I think most people would agree with. This new mode is amazing. It's one of the most welcome new additions to the game, and it lends itself perfectly to its interconnected nature. The way Knockout Tour works is that all 24 racers start on a 6-section course known as a rally. Rallies use the routes that connect the regular race courses, and often span across the entire map or a large section of it. The catch is that each checkpoint only allows a progressively lower number of racers through it, so either you make the cut or you're eliminated. Once you reach the final segment, you'll do 1 lap of the track you arrive at which point only 4 players remain, and try your darndest to finish first. This Battle Royale style approach to racing is perfect for a game like Mario Kart World. It gives a huge case for the open world setting to exist. Some of the most chaotic fun you can find in this game is to be had in Knockout Tour. It's extremely hectic, thrilling, frustrating, heart-pounding racing, just like any Mario Kart mode should aspire to be. And if playing against CPUs doesn't do that for you, just go online, and you'll be singing a whole different tune. Being in the middle of the pack in an online knockout tour is just a massive clusterfudge, but I wouldn't trade the experiences I've had in it for the world. Sometimes you just want to go for a race for the thrill of it, even though you know you'll probably lose to more skilled players and outrageous items, and Knockout Tour fulfills that need wonderfully. I also find it really funny how this mode is pretty much universally accepted as the best mode in Mario Kart World, but it wouldn't have existed without intermissions, which a lot of people dislike. Knockout Tour wouldn't be the same if it were in a previous Mario Kart game, as there would be a lot of stopping in between races to break the flow. Part of the draw to this mode is that it's a long endurance test, where you'll need skills and a bit of luck to survive. A rally can take around 10 minutes on 150cc, and once you get to that last lap, it's extremely stressful to secure your lead, and make sure you don't mess up. Knockout Tour is a fantastic addition to the game, and arguably the best competitive Mario Kart experience ever made. With the new interconnected map being the focal point of Mario Kart World, it'd be a bit of a waste if we couldn't freely explore it at our own leisure, right? Thankfully, free roam lets you do just that. You can drop in from the moment you start the game and start driving around to your heart's content. It's also what you'll do when waiting in between online matches. What is there to do in free roam? Well, you might not think it's very much on the surface. One of my main theses of this review is that free roam is the most misunderstood mode of the game. You don't have to go very far into the discussion sphere of this game to hear complaints to the effect of free roam is empty and boring, with nothing of any real meaning or substance to do in it. Respectfully, I just do not find that to be true at all. The mode isn't without its quirks, which I'll get to soon, but let's take a look at what is there to do. Scattered throughout the world are over 300 P-switches, which when pressed begin time challenges for you to complete. This is essentially the return of a mission-style mode from Mario Kart DS, only this time they're more incidental and tied to the open world. These missions typically involve reaching a goal in time, collecting 8 blue coins, using tricks and dodging obstacles, or participating in a spontaneous race. These are often quite challenging and have very strict time limits for you to complete them, and sometimes require an intermediate knowledge of the game's new tech. As someone who is always looking for ways to challenge myself in games, these are perfect for that. Each individual course also contains a set of question mark panels to activate, which are often well hidden and require you to use your skills to reach hidden nooks and crannies you would never find in a traditional race. Additionally, there are 200 Peach medallions to find in both courses and the open world, which also require your skills and your brain to find. What do you get when you complete these challenges and find the collectibles? Well, outside of stickers which you can use to decorate your cart, nothing. There lies the crux of the argument that free roam is empty and pointless, that there's no real in-game motivation to do any of it, like unlockables as you hit certain milestones or a secret character or vehicle as a 100% completion award. I was initially disappointing to me, but then I asked myself a question that I pose to anyone else who feels negatively about free roam. Do you need a destination or reward waiting at the end to have fun on a journey? If you answered yes, then maybe free roam isn't for you, and that's perfectly valid. However, when I realized that I was having fun just trying the challenges and looking for collectibles for the heck of it, I realized that I personally didn't need a reward to do any of it. And if I ever got stuck not finding anything, I'd just switch over to regular races and try again later. It goes back to the idea of vibes, one of Mario Kart World's strong suits. For some, not everyone, the ability to freely roam around Mario's world in a car is just cool. It's helped by the game's day-night cycle, weather patterns, and soundtrack, which shuffles around different remixed tracks that often reflect your current environment, akin to listening to music on a road trip. All these things help to make the vibes immaculate. Sure, the lack of NPCs with dialogue might be off-putting to some, making this world feel less lived in for them. It's no Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, but keep in mind that this is an additional mode to an already great racing game, and it's free roam, not adventure or quest or something like that. Perhaps this name suggests that this was always meant to be a more relaxing, vibes-focused diversion from the main attraction of racing, which it excels at being. This mode even challenges the completionist mindset. As someone who always tries to go for 100% completion if the game's fun enough, I was prepared to do the same with Mario Kart World's free roam and really grind out all the P-switches and collectibles. I was able to get all 150 question mark panels, which was made easier by the fact that those are the only collectible the game tracks where you found them. However, I've only gotten to around 300 P-switches and 100 Peach medallions at the time of this review. Seeing as the game doesn't tell you how many in each area you found or display them on the map, I was a bit frustrated as it makes finding these things more of a chore, especially towards the end. However, I had to ask myself again if I was losing sight of the main purpose of this mode. Maybe it's not to be able to collect everything, but to have fun in the process. By trying to bypass that process by grinding for collectibles and tirelessly scouring each area, maybe I was missing the point a little. Maybe you're supposed to let these things happen naturally. Since the number of total collectibles isn't even displayed, it's clear Mario Kart World isn't a game built for completionists, which again may frustrate you, and that's okay. Whether you see these things as design flaws really depends on what you're trying to get out of the experience. This game asks you to set aside what you might think you know about games in general, to use a bit of imagination again, and just relax and let things happen. Road trips are all about having spontaneous fun. Sure, you might have a destination to eventually get to, as I'm sure I'll eventually find everything with enough time and free roam, but along the trip, you'll pass interesting landmarks and fun attractions that you'll stop to just check out. Without these things, then yes, the trip would be pretty boring, but once you catch the vision of what Nintendo tried to accomplish with free roam, you'll be glad you took the time to go on the journey. At this point, it's probably become clear why this game has the Mario Kart fanbase divided a little. It's an experience that doesn't completely appeal to everyone. That definitely cannot be ignored, especially since Mario Kart has historically been all about universal appeal. The sad thing is that most of the game's issues with appealing to the masses could be fixed with just a few more options. This is the only area of the game that I feel is truly lacking. I've already mentioned that having additional options to configure Grand Prix cups would be beneficial. This would automatically make the intermission debate a non-issue. If you don't like them, simply don't choose to race on them. However, there's an issue here with online play. There currently is no way to only select 3-lap courses, and the game mostly selects intermission tracks for versus race. Usually your best bet to get one is to select random, but a recent update makes it so that random only sometimes gives you a 3-lap course. For people who don't like intermission tracks, this is infuriating. While I personally don't mind, the option to choose a room with 3-lap tracks only would be a decent fix for the issue, and wouldn't be hard to implement either. And while they're at it, why not add back in the item customization and other settings present in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe? Another controversial point that could be remedied by adding more options are the unlockables. I'm not talking about the new carts earned by collecting coins or the new characters unlocked by clearing cups. Those are fine. I'm talking about unlocks like the NPC characters and the alternate costumes. These can be frustrating. In the case of alternate costumes, eating food as different characters is a fine natural way to get outfits for the first handful of unlocks. But when you're looking for those last few, it becomes a challenge to get them to show up, since you need to find certain food that's only available in certain areas to get those outfits. And with the characters, it's even more complicated. You have to hope Kamet gets used by someone behind you, and then hope you're in the right location in the world to get transformed into the character you want. And then hope you get turned into the right one. Again, it's good to let things happen naturally, but when it comes down to either pure luck or tedious grinding, perhaps it's good to have another option here. Maybe the game could still have these systems in place, but could unlock something anyway when you've cleared a certain number of missions in free roam, or found a certain number of collectibles. There's several possible solutions, but that's just what I came up with. And I haven't even talked about battle mode yet, probably because it's sadly a pretty lackluster part of the game, especially when compared to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's stellar battle mode. There's only the two main modes of Balloon Battle and Coin Runners, and there aren't any additional settings to configure outside of the normal versus race ones. Balloon Battle going back to elimination would be a much more exciting change if the timer wasn't locked to just 3 minutes always, which as is makes the change basically irrelevant. Even if the mode was still just the two classic battle variants, adding more customization options would make it more interesting. Overall, Nintendo still seems to be dead set on only letting you play their game the way they want you to, which is sad for a game as special as this. Like I said about free roam, there's merit to just letting things happen and relaxing, but having options to tailor your own experience wouldn't go against that spirit, but rather make it more universally applicable. Mario Kart World may not be the perfect Mario Kart game, but depending on your personal preferences and what you like to get out of Mario Kart and games in general, it might just be the perfect Mario Kart experience. It presents an open world of racing with a feeling of freedom, inhibited only by its lack of customization options. It is a truly great start to the Switch 2 era, and a truly great entry to the Mario Kart series. Racing is as fun, hectic, and chaotic as it's ever been, especially in the fantastic Knockout Tour mode. Free roam offers a relaxing change-up to normal racing, and a fresh take on Mario Kart gameplay. The entire package has that undeniable Nintendo charm that you have to admit is present in nearly every game they put out, no matter how upsetting their decisions might be. It's tied together with beautiful visuals, a jaw-dropping soundtrack, and spectacular sound design. It's a labor of love, and for a kart racing game series that's been around since '92, that's something to ride home about.